Okay. All right. Looks like I am live. And let's see. First step, as always, I know I'm getting started a little late today. First step, as always, is of course to let the group know. So just a moment. Alrighty. Comments here. Currently live on YouTube. Okay. I really need to change out this thing tomorrow. But yeah, whoever's here, feel free to say hi. Hope everybody's doing okay this week. Need some more water in that thing soon. Yeah, hope everybody's doing okay. Couple big things coming up. Okay. All right. So yeah, I hope everybody's doing okay. Uh, let's see. I know there's a few questions that I prepared to answer. So just sort of waiting on that. Okay, so the first question I'll be answering is, how did you know you could successfully start a business and become confident in yourself? That's a good question. Second is, top three things someone would learn from your course. It's a good question. And three, name your top two entrepreneurs or people that have inspired you. Those are three really good questions. Thank you for that. Okay, so yeah, so the goal here is again, I'm going to wait till the 5 minute mark. It's been 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but because one, I started about almost a half hour late today, and whoever hopped in, feel free to say hi. One, because I started late today, and two, because I'm still doing the tribe call at the scheduled time. I'm gonna have to be a little quicker in terms of the questions that I answer. Oftentimes, I really go into a long tangent, and I will continue talking if no one sort of asks questions that shows up on this live. But the point is that I want to make sure that everyone's questions gets answered. And normally it takes me at least 45, 50 minutes to, really answer everything when, some questions start coming in. But okay, so I am still going to wait one more minute so that we know, um, so that I've waited 5 minutes for anyone to sort of hop in. Whoever's here, feel free to say hi. Okay. And hope everything's going okay. So one more minute. Actually, since we have a minute, I am going to go fill this water thing up real quick. Okay, so be back in 30 seconds. Hey guys. I'm back. Um, so you might have just noticed that bookcase actually moves. So cool fact, new fact. Okay, so now it's been a little bit over 5 minutes. Went and filled up my water bottle, and so we are all set. So again, whoever hopped in, feel free to say hi. Again, I'll be answering 3 questions today, plus whatever questions you guys might have. The first being, how did you know hey, Bilju, good to see you. How did you know you successfully, how did you know you could successfully start a business and become confident in yourself? 2 top 3 things someone would learn from the course, Call Center Cast, and 3, name your top 2 entrepreneurs or people that have inspired you. Okay, so I'll start answering the first question now. So the whole how did you know you could start a business thing and have confidence? That was clearly, well, not clearly, that was a very long process. Um, the only thing I really knew was that from a long while, from let's say my late teens, maybe early 20s, the only thing I was confident in was that there were some people out there that I felt were not smarter than me or more capable than me that were able to start businesses and be profitable and have success. Um, I didn't know what was magical about them that I didn't have yet. I didn't know what trait they possessed that I didn't, but I knew that at the end of the day, they did not have, some of them were just amazing, but some of them I did not feel were more capable than me or, whatever. And so basically, like, well, if this person can do it and they're not superhuman, then I've got a shot. I've got a shot. That's sort of piece one. The other piece was as I lived my life. Hey, Mark, good to see you, man. As I lived my life out, um, I realized a few things. One, that I hate jobs so much that I'm probably just not going to last in the job world forever. Like I just couldn't do it. Um, some of my jobs were actually pretty good. Um, a few of my jobs were pretty cushy, and I had an office, personal office, good views, good money, uh, technically a not difficult working environment. But in principle, I was so against the idea or the scenario of having my work dictated by someone else, and also my ability to make money dictated essentially by someone else. Obviously, to a certain extent, it's me, even in the job world. But when someone else signs your paycheck, you can't have ownership of it, right? You just don't have ownership of it. And, I knew that the sort of whatever. So not to spend too long on that. So it was just very difficult for me to deal with being in the job world, knowing that there were people that were not in it, and knowing that some of those people were not more capable than me. I also felt that in order to hit some of the income and wealth goals I had and still have, really, um, I I probably wasn't going to hit that in the job market unless I did some heavy finance stuff, which I didn't and don't want to do. So those were the 2 things. As far as confidence, that didn't come until I actually started working on stuff, which was early. But Bilju asked a good question. I'll get to that in just a second, Bilju. It was early. I was working on stuff, but it was stupid stuff. They weren't like traditional businesses. So, I didn't finally start working on a traditional business until 2012. Like really like a truly traditional business until 2012. Now, keep in mind, I graduated high school in 2003, and I wanted to make my first million by 21 years old. I was like telling people, telling my friends, probably telling my family, I'm making my first million by 21. Count on it, you know. Uh, but I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't know what to do. And again, I thought that there was a magical bridge that I hadn't found yet and didn't know how to cross. uh, but again, eventually I just started working on traditional businesses. And from the beginning of me actually working on traditional businesses, I started having some success from the beginning. And I guess the biggest reason for that is that my career was in sales. And so once you start, making your first sales and you have some clients, well, that brings confidence, right? In terms of starting a company, it can be very scary and daunting. And I know a lot of you on the call sort of feel that way, or that are watching. People commented to me or chatted me all the time saying, "Man, this is so scary, but I'm taking a leap of faith." Most don't do it, and the biggest reason they don't do it is because they don't want to risk, let's say, a more secure situation for a business, which is understandable, especially if you're making significant money or if you have significant expenses or both. Um, but for me, I didn't give myself a choice. I hate a job too much. I just emotionally, uh, there was just something about me that said, you know what, if there's other people that are able to do this, I have to do it. Like, I'm not giving myself a choice. I have to do it. Now, also, granted, I still don't have kids, and at the time in 2012, I wasn't married or anything. Uh, So it's a lot easier to have this mindset when you're just a single guy with no kids, right? Um, okay, so let me finish this. So the confidence grew once I started getting some clients and I started, spending more time as a full time business owner. It's always a little bit scary when you launch a new thing until you get that first client, but once you get the first client, and the client is satisfied by the service or products you are providing. Once that happens, you realize you can probably do it again. And when you do it again, every single person, uh, hey, Dominic, good question. Let me finish my answer because I'm talking way too much. Um, it just comes with time, one client at a time, one business at a time. I didn't know how I was going to get a business going, but I knew that I didn't have a choice. And so I just started going through the motion. So if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. If you have the confidence to do something and it's not scary for you, just do it. And the reason why everybody says the same thing is because it's the truth. Okay. All right. So Mark, welcome. Birju, welcome. Dominic, welcome. Okay. So Birju asked, how did you make sure you meet your target? So, Birju, early on, I don't usually have many targets. As I've gained more experience, I'm able to sort of create goals and targets that make sense because I understand, most of the stuff I work on now, even if it's a different industry, um, it will have sort of the same elements of businesses I've worked on in the past, right? Which is usually just service businesses. And so it's a lot easier for me to say, okay, well, if I do this amount of effort and do things right in this regard, we'll probably achieve this. And it's usually like, okay, well, we'll get a certain number of clients. The client will probably pay us this much on average in revenue, which means we'll have this much revenue. So sometimes the goals are based off of what makes sense. And hey, Matt, good to see you on here as well. Um, oh, cool, Matt. Yeah, that sounds cool. Um, so yeah, let me. In terms of setting targets, I make sure that I make targets that make sense, and usually it's not a huge deal if we don't hit them. I found that it's about 50-50. About half the time I hit it and exceed it. The other half I don't. But, we might hit certain goals. And I also adjust things, especially in the early, like first year or so, because you're still figuring the business out. You're figuring out what type of clients you're going to land versus who you thought you were going to land. And so going into year two is when you really start to figure out your target and just make them reasonable. Have one that's like the minimum, have one that's your reasonable, and have one that's a stretch goal that you really have to, do everything right. And, the only thing that really matters is that you're growing, right? Anything faster than growing 1% is simply a matter of your own personal ambition. But as long as the business is growing, then you'll be okay. That's. I hope that sort of answers your question. Dominic, how do you find viable clients? Well, if you're talking about the call center industry and specifically the virtual receptionist niche within the call center industry, the easiest way to answer this, and Dominic, I don't know if you have the course or not, but of course I do go over marketing, not only in the course, but particularly we talk about it all the time in the paid student group. But a quick way to answer this, the most effective way to get clients is to figure out a niche. You want to choose a niche. And so when you choose a niche, you want to throw your effort and weight behind reaching out to people in that niche. So say, you're going after, like for me, it was just cleaning companies, right? I had a cleaning company. I understood what cleaning company owners thought about and needed. And so it was easy for me to create a website that had copy and, talked about the pain point that cleaning company owners had. And because I was talking about the pain point that the cleaning company owners had, they heard me, right? When you go to pitch different cleaning companies as a cleaning company owner, it was a lot easier. My very first cold call was somebody that signed up and ended up buying my cleaning company, actually, 2.5 years later. So if you have good targets, like, if you've got good leads, like really good leads, then how good you are at selling is far less relevant, right? How good your copy is, how good your ads are is far less relevant, as long as you're reaching out to the right people. And my lecture turn on. If you are reaching out to bad prospects, bad leads, then you could have a great website, you could have a great pitch and not get results. And so the easiest two ways to go about getting viable clients is one, figure out who's viable, and you figure out who's viable in the course or just listening to me talk, like go through my old videos, right? In the free email course, I talk about different industries in one of the videos. I think it's like day 2 or 3. So pick a niche, write your website copy and tailor your pitch or your ads or whatever way you want to do things to that niche, right? Even if you expand on it later, in the beginning, have a niche, and then just go after it. This can be a numbers game. The reality is that if you look at the different students that have come through the program, the way I did things was my partner and I, we did content marketing and we cold called. And we also, in the very beginning, reached out to our network of cleaning business owners because we were cleaning business owners. And, some of them were interested and ended up signing up. That's how we built the business. It's really as simple as that. We did content marketing, which eventually led to inbound leads. And, over the years, we got over 1,000 clients through inbound leads, about 70% of our total clientele. Again, early on, I was doing some cold calling. And then we had a pre-launch where I was reaching out to my network to get people interested in the industry that I knew that I was in. And I knew I could, hit the pain point for these people. That's what I did. But as far as students that have taken the course, just about all of them that have hit at least, let's say, 10,000 a month in revenue or beyond all of them actually had a different individual marketing method. And so early on, when I first started doing these lives, I probably would have said something specific. But now I can say, listen, this service is viable to just about any small business in the country that can afford it, or the world that can afford it. All you're doing is you're finding businesses that need your calls answered and answering, like offering to answer the phone on their behalf. It's a very obvious service, right? And so again, it's your only job in terms of marketing is exposing yourself, letting people that need their calls answered know that you exist. That's it. And so, how do you do that? Again, find a niche, find a nice little target within the niche. So don't go after a $10 million company. Um, sometimes I would say don't cold call companies that are just getting started, but we'll get all kinds of inbound leads that will literally sign up with us the day they launch their company because they start a day job, and any calls that might come in, they want to make sure that call get an answer because they need clients too. Um, and so, try to find a sweet spot of companies that are doing somewhere between like even like 50,000 a year, maybe 100,000 to a million or two a year. So, however, which way you can figure that out, do that. Do that within the niche or two that you've decided on. Stick with it for a while. If you find that you're not able to break into a niche after doing like freaking 1,000 calls or something, or reaching out to 1,000 leads, if you do a cold email campaign with some type of software after you've warmed your domain up, then I would say, try to get a few weeks. If people aren't interested, then just pick a different niche. But niching is the way to go. And, the reality is that if you keep going, as people say no, like you're going to get some type of feedback. So as people say no, if they're not saying yes, as people say no, you're still going to get some feedback in those conversations. So they'll say, "Oh, I'm not interested for this reason." "Oh, well, seems like this wouldn't work for me because of this reason." And so what you can do is you can start to tweak your pitch to sort of address those concerns potentially before they come up. And again, within a certain niche, they're going to be sort of shared and common concern that keep coming up because businesses in the same industry usually have basically the same issues. So eventually, your pitch is going to be so good that you're going to get yeses. And this is just a reality. Literally, every single student that has come through and had consistently marketed to people for consistently, and we're not talking years here, we're talking a few months. My course has only been around 2 years. Every single one of these people have landed clients, all of them, every single one of them, all of them. So it's not a matter of whether you can get clients, it's a matter of whether you put in the effort, and most importantly the consistency to get clients. And then of course the course itself, and particularly a community, will make your path that much easier. Okay, so I hope that answers that. Matt, to address wanting to use a white label, totally cool. Um, doesn't cost anything up front to white label. I certainly don't charge anything. I don't make any money, when you use a white labeling because I don't directly offer it myself. And so, yeah, I mean, typically what happens is that, say you sign up $1,000 worth of plan that you charge for. If you're paying your white labeler, let's say $700 a month, then you make the $300 in gross profit on that revenue, right? So, talk through that whenever you're ready. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a viable way to get started. Again, there's an interview on my channel of Lauren Hazel, how she talked about she's somebody that white labeled and got to like 30, 40 clients while white labeling. So you can refer to that interview if you want some pointers on that map. So I hope that answers your two questions. Just, did it answer them to your satisfaction? In between, really quickly, I'm going to try to fit in. Name your top 2 entrepreneurs or people that have inspired you. Um, I honestly don't know. Nowadays, I just sort of do my own thing. There's a few people that I sort of network with that I take a lot of cues from lately. And so the people that inspire me in general, um, Matt, you reach out, send me an email. I'll just type it. Okay, Dominic, I'll type the course link. Center.com on the tribe. So that link, Dominic, is 20% off of retail. So I don't know how long I'm gonna have that up, but it's up right now. Matt, as far as reaching out, I'm assuming you mean potentially to a white labeler. Either find me on Facebook or email me at donald@callcenterclass.com. And then I'll, refer you to a few students. Um, and then you can go from there. A few students that are white labeling. There's one in particular, Paul Joseph, but the easiest way is to find me on Facebook, Donald T. Span. But again, you can also email me, and I can do a email based introduction, especially if you don't like Facebook. So 2 people that have inspired me. I'll say early on, it was just really just 2 books that inspired me. One was actually, I'm just gonna say one. It was one book that really got me to join my current brand of entrepreneurship, and that was the 4 Hour Work Week. Early on, it was like, man, if I could just have any business, I don't care what I have to do, I'll be happy. And to a certain extent, that was true. But I also knew I never wanted to like work, 100-hour weeks for 20 years, even if I did get to work for myself. So the 4 Hour Work Week, with that poor dad back in the day, through the whole job thing and turned that around, flipped it, and made me like, okay, I need to think about labor and wealth creation differently. That's what that did. The 4 Hour Work Week flipped the premise of hustlepreneurship on its head. The Gary Vaynerchuk that just keeps saying, keep hustling, keep hustling. I in any of my businesses, I have not consistently worked 100-hour weeks ever. It's not something I ever wanted to do. I'm not willing to do it just so that I can work for myself. I could do it for like a month, you know, if it's like really something that's required and could lead to a big payoff. I was doing probably 70, $80 a week for about a month and a half with Vicky because we had brought in a crap load of new clients in month 7 in like end of June and July of 2015. And we had to hire a new agent. We had to make sure all the calls that were coming in were handled. And there was some other stuff going on. Like we had to onboard all the clients, and onboarding wasn't as smooth as it is now, those types of things. But that's work that is like, oh man, we're getting a bunch of new clients. We're getting a bunch of new revenue, people that are paying us. Obviously, a bunch of new revenue, people that are paying us. Obviously, we want to fulfill that. And we also knew that once those people were onboarded and we finally hired a few agents, then that workload would stop. So my point is that I was influenced by Rich Dad Poor Dad in terms of saying, okay, I have to be an entrepreneur. And 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, like, okay, I can be an entrepreneur without working 100 hours a week. So those were my 2 biggest influences for those simple reasons. And that answers that question. Matt, Dominic, hope I answered your question. Birju, I hope I answered your question. Mark, hope everything's well with you, and I appreciate the email update from you. Let's see, I've got 4 minutes until this next call. The third thing, what are the top 3 things someone will learn from the course? So, again, I try not to plug the course. well, obviously I bring up the course every time, but I try not to like really hammer the course into you guys. But there's three things that you essentially get out of the course, and I think anybody can get out of it. One is that it makes your path to this, to having this type of business, way easier, right? There's so many people that have taken the course and gotten value from it, even when they already have call center management, call center business owning experience, let alone people that are new to entrepreneurship or new to the call center space. We found people in all of those different baskets have found value. Okay. Um, and they're telling me that like almost every day. Um, so it streamlines your path. That's one. Two, you get tremendous value from just being in the community. People in the community that are actively participating will tell you that it's worth as much as the course material itself, if not more, because it's an ever evolving conversation with people outside of just me that have now created this business and have grown it in their different ways. Again, every like just about everyone doing 10 grand or more has a different marketing method, so you can learn from them. Now it's more than just my perspective that's valuable and viable in terms of this business model. That's two. And then three would be the third thing would be is that you finally get a conclusive sort of like, it closes up the gaps in the circle in terms of, okay, what is this? What am I really doing here? These videos, like the YouTube lives and stuff, if you watch enough of them, you can start to piece together this business. And if you're savvy enough, you can certainly launch just from it. But the course, it's like I don't really. There's no like fluff, so it's not like all this stuff that you have to sift through and filter through. You're just in a situation where you're consuming information that's all meat and potatoes. And so because it's just straight information about this business, and I, spend a lot of time organizing and structuring it and, having a certain chronology, you end up with this complete circle of comprehensive, like cohesive understanding on how to get this business going. It goes beyond simply, oh, these are the steps. And to me, like you can hear me now on every live. I like sort of talk an extra amount about everything I'm talking about. I throw in like these little extra points and stuff. So I do that in the course. And what happens when I'm continuing to talk is you're taking these little gems and nuggets and you end up with a more holistic understanding. So those are the three things. Streamline, you fully understand things, and you get forever access to the community. So, guys, I gotta hop on to this next call now. It's a Zoom call that starts right now. If you join the program, you can be in that call as well. 30-day money back guarantee. Mug, hope everything's okay. I apologize for starting late this week. But we'll be at 6:30 Central Time next week. But other than that, as always, I appreciate you guys. For anyone that didn't get into a question this time around, feel free to just either chat me directly, email me directly, or comment on this video or any other video, and I'll eventually get to it to answer. So thanks a lot, and see you guys next week.